encephalopathy, the brain condition.
Exactly. He was reportedly on a live stream and said something in Spanish. Tengo CTE, me desmayé.
Which means?
I have CTE, I fainted. It sounds like he was trying to use that to, maybe explain or justify the violence.
Okay. And then the warrant became public knowledge. Did he react to that specifically?
Not directly, it seems. What sources noted was him posting a video clip of himself riding a bike, just casually, with a hashtag love from the Middle East.
The Middle East. Which leads to the next question. Where is he now?
Well, the police seem to think he didn't stick around. Their intel suggests he left the U.S. just days after the Miami incident.
And they think Middle East or Asia.
That's the speculation, yeah. Somewhere over there.
So authorities are basically looking for him.
Pretty much. They're investigating where he might be, and I guess waiting to see if he turns himself in or if they eventually track him down.
Okay, so this Miami incident is obviously the current focus, and it's huge. But, like we said at the start, you really can't look at this in a vacuum, can you?
No, absolutely not. When you go through the background material, this seems like, well, maybe not an inevitable outcome, but part of a really troubling, long-running pattern.
It's kind of stunning how much controversy has followed him, even when he was arguably the best receiver in the league.
Right. Let's maybe walk through some of the history the sources lay out. Start with Pittsburgh, where he became, AB.
Yeah, the Steelers years, he was phenomenal. But how did it end?
Not well. Sources talk about disputes building up, issues with Ben Roethlisberger, the quarterback, and it all kind of boiled over at the end of the 2018 season when he just, stopped showing up for team stuff.
And then he got traded to the Raiders.
Oh, Oakland Raiders, yep. But that was, wow, a whirlwind. He never played a single regular season down for them.
What happened? It felt like nonstop drama.
It really did. The sources list it all out. Remember the cryotherapy thing? Frostbite on his feet.
Oh, yeah, the feet pictures.
Then the whole helmet argument with the NFL. That cost the team fines. Then arguments, reportedly pretty heated ones, with the GM Mike Mayock and coach John Gruden.
And the final straw.
He apparently leaked a private phone call he had with Gruden, put it online, and boom, they released it right before the season started.
It just shows a pattern of conflict, maybe pushing boundaries.
Seems like it. Then he lands with the Patriots, right? Tom Brady connection.
Yeah. But that lasted, what, one game?
Just one game. He got cut after those sexual assault allegations from his former trainer, Brittany Taylor, resurfaced in a big way. She alleged 3 incidents.
But wasn't there another accuser, too?
Yes. Soon after, a second woman came forward with accusations. And that's when Nike dropped his endorsement deal, too. It all happened very fast.
So Pats didn't work out. Next stop, Tampa Bay. Again with Brady.
Right. Joined the Buccaneers in 2020. And they actually won the Super Bowl that season, 2021. He got a ring.
Looked like maybe things had settled down.
For a little while, maybe. But then things went south again. There was the whole fake COVID vaccine card issue.
Right. Got suspended by the NFL for that. 3 games.
And then the really infamous moment, January 2022, game against the Jets.
The sideline meltdown, taking off his pads, his jersey, waving to the crowd, walking off, mid-game.
Exactly. Just walked right out of the stadium, basically. His explanation later, according to the reports, was that the coach, Bruce Arians, was trying to force him to play hurt on a bad ankle. Said Arians threatened his career.
But that was it. That was his last play in the NFL.
That was the end of his NFL career right there. But the issues didn't stop when his playing days did. The sources point to legal troubles outside football, too.
Yeah, what else is mentioned?
Well, back in 2020, there was an arrest. He eventually pleaded guilty to assaulting a moving company guy.
What happened with that?
Got a plea deal. 2 years probation, 100 hours of community service.
Okay. And there have been other things, too.
Sources also mention multiple domestic violence allegations that have been reported over the years.
And more recently, money issues.
Yeah, just last year, 2023, arrested for apparently not paying child support. Over $30,000 owed for one of his daughters, the report said.
And that whole arena football team ownership saga. The Albany Empire.
Oh, right. That was another mess. Reports say he ended up getting kicked out of the league because he wasn't paying the bills, and there were even accusations that he threatened players with a gun during that time.
So, yeah, when you lay it all out, the fights, the suspensions, the legal charges, now attempted murder, it's a lot.
It really is. It's a long and consistent history of problematic behavior, conflict, and running into trouble with the law, both inside and outside of football.
Which brings us back to the debate this always sparks, and you see it reflected in the sources and fan talk online. How do you explain all this? Is it, just criminal behavior? Or is the CTE factor real, a result of all those hits? Or is it impossible to separate?
It's the huge question, isn't it? Fans definitely speculate. You hear references to specific big hits he took, like one against the Bengals years ago. People bring up the movie Concussion and the awareness around head trauma.
The idea being that maybe those hits literally changed his brain, his personality, his impulse control.
Right. That's one line of thought. But then other people point out that, well, maybe some difficult personality traits or behavioral issues were kind of there earlier on, too, maybe before the worst hits. Or that it's all tangled together. The pressure, the fame, the potential brain trauma.
It's incredibly hard to know for sure from the outside, just based on reports and history.
Absolutely. And now, this latest charge, it puts his whole legacy into question, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Athletically, I mean.
Yeah, the sources mention his stats are amazing. Technically, he could be on the Hall of Fame ballot in 2027.
The numbers are definitely Hall of Fame worthy, arguably.
But an attempted murder charge? After everything else?
It feels like that just overshadows everything. The consensus from the material we looked at seems to be that regardless of his talent, this charge has probably, destroyed any chance of that kind of recognition. His athletic legacy seems pretty wrecked by this.
So we've traced it from the peak, really, one of the best players in the game, through all these incidents to now facing this incredibly serious charge in Miami.
Yeah, attempted murder. It's heavy. And if he's convicted, we're talking about potentially very serious prison time.
It's a really stark fall from grace. And as you think about Antonio Brown's whole story, it does make you wonder, doesn't it? What does this all say about the sport itself, about football, the potential long-term costs, physically and mentally?
Mm-hmm.
And about how we handle situations where there's immense talent, huge fame, but also serious accusations and troubling behavior. Where does accountability fit in versus potential mental health factors, especially things like CTE? Complicated.
Definitely complicated.
Yeah.
It leaves you with a lot to think about regarding fame, responsibility, and the intense pressures and potential consequences of playing football at the highest level.